Hey everyone, and welcome back to Robbie's Backstage Bants. Today I have a super special guest with me. Would you like to introduce yourself and say what you're doing at the moment?
My name is Lena Hall, and I'm currently working on a project called In Dreams, which is a show written by David West Reed, who wrote *And Juliet, directed by Luke Shepard, who directed *And Juliet, and featuring the music of Roy Orbison.
Yeah, so exciting. Now, this is, I'm assuming your first time in Leeds, when it opens, because you've had quite an incredible career so far as is. You've had Broadway credits, off-Broadway credits. Would you like to talk a little bit about those for those who don't know what you've already done?
Sure. I started young, and I was in Cats on Broadway. And then I did a bunch of stuff. So I did off Broadway. I did a show called Radiant Baby, which was about the artist Keith Haring, and I got to play kind of an amalgamation of Cyndi Lauper and Madonna, which was really fun. And then I did 42nd Street on Broadway. I played Anytime Annie. If you haven't noticed, I was a dancer. Um, no one remembers that I was a dancer, so which is really
Here
funny
it
to
is. It's back.
me. Yeah, and then after 42nd Street, I did a show, an unknown show called Dracula the Musical.
Oh,
hmm Um, and then right after that, I did Tarzan on Broadway, on the original cast of that, and I understudied Jane.
wow.
Um, yeah, and then I actually quit the business for a little while because I was not happy and I didn't really know why. And I felt like there was this bitterness that was washing over me, and it was kind of learned from everyone.
Mm,
Um, because when you're young and you come into this business, you're full of dreams, and
yeah.
it's like the biggest dream of all. And then you hear everyone who's been there for a while, and there's this kind of negativity and this complaining, and it can rub off on you, and I didn't know what was going on. It's just like, you know, you when you're doing 8 shows a week and you're in a dressing room with a bunch of people, the ones who are not feeling good about their lives, their careers, that kind of takes over the group.
Yeah.
And so I was feeling that, and I was didn't and I was like, I need to like reset and find where my passion is, because I thought that maybe Broadway wasn't my passion and I wasn't being fulfilled, and I wanted someone who did want to be there to get the job, and I didn't want to take the job from someone who would be really happy to have the job.
Absolutely.
So I quit, and I joined a band called yeah, they found me on MySpace. This is MySpace. This is a while ago, right?
Woohoo!
Yeah, this is before kind of really Facebook took hold,
Mm,
and this is before Instagram, before Twitter. This is like really way before social media took over. It was
yeah.
just kind of still just a thought. And this band reached out to me on MySpace, and they were looking for a lead singer, and I was like, why not? The name of the band was Cocaine the Band. And really, it was a joke band. It was all original music that sounded like hair rock from the 80s.
Mm,
Um, yeah, that kind of big, cheesy anthem rock where the guys were in mullets or whatever. So I auditioned for that, and I got it. I got it.
woohoo.
Yeah. And then I was doing the band for a while, and I was also doing small film projects. Like I was like, maybe I want to do TV film. And so while I was doing the band, I was also doing like student films, because I didn't really know what it was like to be in front of a camera. So I really wanted to get the gist of that and like feel what it was like to act in front of a camera, because it is very, very different than being on stage. And so I did some student films, and I did a soap opera called All My Children, and I was Trina.
Oh,
Sorry, I was Trina the hooker. And I did that for a while. I was only supposed to be on one episode. I ended up doing like 8 or 9. And they were like, "We're here. You're gonna write you into the show." I was like, "Oh no, I don't want to
We
be
want
like,
the hooker back. Bring
yeah,
it. Bring it.
I want to be a hooker. I'm fucking all my children." So luckily, the all the writers were fired, and that was the end of Trina. So Trina
Oh,
went away. But I had fun doing that camera work.
yeah.
And then I started really getting into the band. Um, we wanted to be more serious, and so we changed our sound and our name to The Deafening. But we weren't really much more serious. It was still tongue in cheek. It still
Yeah.
sounded. It didn't quite. It sounded more like Guns N' Roses, right? And it was like a tongue in cheek version of that.
Mm,
And that was really fun because I was really like getting into my voice and what I could do with my voice and how I could kind of have this sound that was like Axl Rose or like Robert Plant or like Janis Joplin. It had that dirt and that grit, and it had the attitude to it that
mm,
is often what rock singing is there's a lot of attitude in it. And that was all because my band members would make fun of me all the time. They'd be like, "You sound too theater. We want you to sound like this." And I was like, "I don't know. I mean, I'll try." And I ended up pushing myself and learning really how to do that.
yeah.
And so the band was doing really well. And then I started to get back into theater because I did miss it and I needed a
Oh,
job. So I started doing theater again, and then that's when I did pretty experimental theater. I did a lot of readings and workshops, and these were all with people who would put me into the lane of rock and roll, like rock musicals and stuff like that. So it was like
yeah.
doing a show with Serge Tankian from System of a Down, which was called Prometheus Bound. And we did that up at ART, and that was totally cool and crazy and
Yeah.
bizarre and weird. It was amazing. There were amazing, amazing people in that show. And then I did another one that was all the music of Jeff Buckley, but it was the story of Romeo and Juliet. So it had the Shakespeare and Jeff Buckley music rolled into one.
Wow.
It was very good and very cool. And then, so I was looking for these cool projects because I wanted that kind of thing. And then Kinky Boots came along, and it was the just a reading of it. And
Yeah.
I went. Jerry Mitchell knew me from. Oh, I forgot. I totally glazed over little like Legally Blonde, The Search for the Next
Oh,
Elwood.
yeah.
You know? Glazed over that. I did that before. I did that when I was in a band, but I did it before I did these rock musicals
Mm,
because I had kept auditioning for theater. And I was given a couple of jobs that were in the ensemble, and I decided to say no because I just, I don't know, I didn't want to get back in
she's
the
a
same,
star.
I didn't, well, no, I just didn't want to get back into feeling the same way that I did. And
Yeah.
I knew those shows weren't going to be as fulfilling as doing a new show with rock music.
Absolutely.
So, Legally Blonde, anyway, Legally Blonde, The Search for the Woods, I was seen for every single role in that show. And then they reached out and they were like, "Jerry wants you to do this reality show, and he really thinks you'd be a great candidate for Elle Woods." And I was like, "Oh, maybe I'm Elle Woods. Like, maybe that's what I've been waiting for." Of course, I don't want to do a reality show, but I'll do it because I want the
Yeah.
job.
Mm.
I didn't know how reality shows worked, obviously, and that it was all, it was all predetermined. But it was, I mean, it was fun to do, and then it aired, and I was kind of like, "Oh God, what have I done? Is my career over? I don't seem great. Like I didn't like how I seemed."
Yeah.
And then MTV, they were making us. Again, it was like before Instagram, before really social media was the thing. So MTV had their own social media, and so they were like, "You have to go online and you have to interact with the fans, and you have your own account and your own thing." And I was like, "Great!" And the hate and the horrible comments that came my way from that show were just like crushing. And I thought, "Oh, that's the end of my career." Anyway, so cut to Jerry Mitchell remembers me very well and had wanted me to be in a show. And then Kinky Boots came around and he called me in for Nicola, and then it just happened. Um,
Amazing.
yeah. And then, so I did the reading of that and I did all the subsequent workshops and I saw the whole thing grow. And then I went, um, and then, before or after, then we went to Chicago and we did the out of town tryout. And when we were in out of town tryout, that's when all the cuts happened to my character. Before that, Nicola was so well thought out. She was really, really well written. She had like her wants, her desires, her dreams. She knew what she wanted. She was trying to hold Charlie to the promises he made. Like it really was like heartbreaking when he was like, no. And she was like, well, what the hell? And I had a great song. And then they were just like, yeah, the audience likes you and they can't. So then they cut it all down. So then it became just the track that it is now today. And that was hard, but like I was there, for me, it was about working with Cindy, working with Jerry, working with
Yeah.
Harvey, working with, you know, the Roths, Daryl Roth and Jordan Roth. It was like all about the people involved in the show. And so I had to like sit and be like, you know what? It doesn't serve the story that you want to tell. So do whatever you have to in order to serve the story.
Yeah.
And so they did. And yeah, yeah. And they did. And that was great. And that was fine. And then I had some time off between the show, from Chicago to Broadway. And when in that time off, I joined the circus and I sang for the circus, in Australia,
Wow.
which was really fun. And then when I came back, I opened up Kinky Boots on Broadway. Um, yeah, and so they actually told me that I had the option of, because I was contracted for the Broadway run when we did the out of town tryout. They actually gave me the option to leave because they had cut so much from my show. And they're like, we understand if it's not fulfilling and you don't want to do that. And I was like, no, no, I believe in this show. And also, like in my mind, I'm like, I have so much time off stage. I'll learn how to do something. I learned how to like video edit.
Woo!
Yeah. So I do Kinky Boots. We do the Tony. We do the Tonys. All this kind of hoopla. It's a big hit.
Yeah.
And yeah, and during that time, I changed my name in my band to Lena Hall, because I thought it was like cool and it was like rock star. I'm like totally cool, yeah. And then someone who kind of a mentor of mine,
Mhm.
asked them. I was like, what do I do? Because I'm Lena Hall here, I'm Selena Carvajal there. What should I do? And they're like, just change your name to Lena Hall. It's so good. It's very like it's symmetrical. It looks good. Like just do that. You're not changing your name to something um, unrecognizable. You're changing it to something that's just a shortening of your two names. I was like, all right. So I changed my name in the middle of Kinky Boots.
Hey, and that
Yeah.
messed up the playbills.
Yeah, and so there's some playbills that have Selena Carvajal, and then there's other playbills that have Lena Hall. So you'd be able to see like the change.
Wow.
Um, yeah, and then I heard that Hedwig was coming to Broadway, and I knew the show so well because I saw it when I was just 19 years old. I was in Cats on Broadway. I saw it. I got free tickets, and I took my sister, and it was at the Jane Street Hotel, just disgusting place. And and at the end of that show, I was just sobbing and I had my arms raised in the air and I couldn't believe that theater could be like that.
Mm,
And it was the first time I'd ever seen anything like that that moved me in that way.
mm.
And so I bought the off Broadway cast recording immediately. Then when the film came out, I watched the film and I listened to the film recording and I listened, but my favorite is of course the off-Broadway cast recording. It's just so gritty, it's so truthful, it's so real. And I listened to that over and over again. So I knew the songs backwards and forwards.
Yeah.
And I heard it was coming to Broadway, starring Neil Patrick Harris, and I was like, there is only one person in this New York City who can play this role, and it's me. So
Exactly.
yeah, so I was like, you know what? If I can't get an appointment, I'm going to go to an open call. I don't care. Like, I'm going to be seen for this. I got an appointment, and because I knew the show so well, I knew that I was free to make bold choices, and that is what would be. I mean, it would either be great or be a total disaster, but at least making a bold decision for that show was very important.
Mm.
And I went in dressed as a man, and I had my guitarist with me from my band. And when they called my name, I had my guitarist going first, and he had an electric guitar, and I brought him into like a little rehearsal studio. He had an electric guitar. I carried an amp in behind him. I plugged it into the wall. I set it all up. And then I said, hi, my name is Lena Hall, yada, yada. And I did my audition and I auditioned with a song called Kiss Me Deadly by Lita Ford, which is not a theater song. It's just a rock song, right? And so they were like, great, great. You can come back for a callback. So I came back for my callback. I did the same thing, but it was in front of John and Stephen, John Cameron Mitchell, Stephen Trask, and Michael Mayer. And so it was a lot more. I was like, oh my God, like John Cameron Mitchell and Stephen Trask. Oh my God. Like I was having like a heart attack. I didn't, like I hadn't worked with Michael Mayer yet, so I didn't know how he would be as a director, but like seeing John and Stephen was like and I went in the same way with my guitarist and dressed the same way, and then they asked me to come back for my final callback, but they were like, but we want you to come back, and when you come into the room, we want you to be Yitzhak the whole time. We're going to ask you questions. You're going to do an improv scene with John. You're going to, do the audition piece. And then you're going to tell us a story or a joke in character, as Yitzhak. I was like, all right. And that was it. So then I had some time to prepare for this callback. And I was like, what am I going to do? And I thought about like, well, why am I in the room? So if I'm Yitzhak and I'm going into the room, I can't go in auditioning to play Yitzhak in Hedwig on Broadway. That doesn't make sense
Nope.
dramaturgically. So I was like, why am I there? And then I was like, oh, I know why I'm there. So I wrote, along with my guitarist, we wrote a whole monologue that was a backstory about where Yitzhak came from, how he knew about musical theater, and what brought him to New York, which was Rent. And then Rent was closed on Broadway. So Yitzhak had a Kickstarter campaign that we filmed, a Kickstarter campaign, and did a whole 2.5 minute Kickstarter campaign video, edited and everything for
Wow.
Yitzhak, yeah, for Yitzhak to bring Rent back to Broadway so Yitzhak could star as Angel in Rent. And 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 it was really like I thought it was like just a 2 minute monologue into a 2.5 minute video, but the monologue was probably about 5 minutes long. I'm being honest. It was long. But like I rehearsed the monologue and we were editing the video, and then my callback was between shows on a 2 show day. So I had to be Nicola, change into Yitzhak, go to my audition with my guitarist and stare and wait. And I waited forever. And I was like, what is going on? Like, I'm waiting forever. Like, I haven't eaten dinner and I have a show. Like, what's going on? And like all the other girls were going, and I was sitting there waiting, and they were like, we just, we want the producer to see you. So we're waiting for him to get here. I was like, well, where is he? And they were like, he's at the Kinky Boots Christmas party. I was like, that's my fucking
That's
party.
where I'm meant to be.
So, so the producer finally shows up, and I go in character. I do the monologue, not one laugh. I go, I get my computer out of my bag. I go up to John and I play him the Kickstarter campaign video, and no one's laughing. And at one point, though, John let out like a, ah! And then that was it. And I was like, oh, are they going to kick me out? Like I botched it. I can't believe that I thought this was funny and it's just not. No one's laughing. Like, what is going on? And then they had me do the rest of the audition material. Then they had me do a scene with John, and like a improv scene with John where we
Yeah.
kissed, this and that. Like, then I got to sing the end of Midnight Radio, or then I got to sing Midnight Radio with John. And like, and they took me through the thing. And then at the end they were like, okay, thank you. And then I left in character, and I was like, it is 7:30. I have to get to my half hour. So I missed half hour. I had to run to the theater, and by the time I got to the theater, I had about 10 minutes to change back into Nicola and
Ooh.
start Kinky Boots. It was super stressful. But we all know I got the job.
It was worth
And
it. I mean, that was a lot of effort to get the
that
job.
was a lot of, yeah, that was a lot of, well, I
If you
really,
didn't
really,
get it, like,
if there is a show you can do that for an audition, it's that show. Not every show you can do that. There are very
no,
few shows you can do that,
definitely
but
not in dreams.
not in Dream. No,
No.
no. But and then the rest is history. So
The rest
yeah.
is history. And here we are today with In Dreams, which is so exciting. It opens at Leeds Playhouse on the 3rd of July, the day after my birthday.
Oh,
Um,
happy birthday!
yeah. Thank you. How excited are you to bring this brand new musical to the UK?
I'm I've always wanted to work in the UK. I mean,
Yeah.
I was like, I've always wanted to do West End. And this is really cool because I I somehow I don't know, I made this happen in some manifestation way. They came to me with this script, and I read the script, and I was like, oh my God, this is funny. This is really well written. It's very intelligent, but it's super buoyant. But there is a very, there's a thread under there of something dark going on,
Yeah.
but it's all very covered in buoyancy and jokes and humor, a lot of humor. And I love the music of Roy Orbison.
Don't we all?
Well, a lot of people don't know who Roy Orbison is, but they
That
know
shocks me.
music. Huh?
That shocks me that so many people don't know who Roy Orbison is.
They don't. And then they hear his music, and they're like, "Oh my God, I do know all of these songs." Yes,
Yeah.
of course. Yeah. So it's just like that thing where you don't connect.
Mm,
Because Roy Orbison was a huge artist for my mother's generation,
yeah.
and it kind of passed us, or past my generation at least. Um, but I knew his music so well, and so I was really excited because I was like, Roy Orbison is cool. Like the music is really cool. It's very different, and there's kind of a melancholy to it, and I know I can give it something interesting and different, and something that doesn't really like fall into a musical theater trope.
Right.
And that's always been kind of my goal is to be able to tell story and break, I guess, the norm of what you hear, because there's like it comes and goes, it comes in waves. So there's certain types of ways of singing that someone heard when they were young, and then they want to sing like that, and then that's what they sound like, and it's a little bit different, but it's more, do you know what I mean? It was like this person started it and now everyone
Yeah.
sings that way, and then that's going to happen again and again and again with different people, as they make their mark on theater. So for me, it was just like, how can I, like, like a show, like I want to be able to bring something a little different, a different way of seeing theater, a different way of hearing music, um, or at least singing, at least,
Yeah.
I was really excited to kind of do my own take on Roy Orbison music. And when I met with Luke Shepard, the director, and David West Reed, the writer, yeah, yeah. They were so much like, we want you to bring you to this. We saw all your videos on YouTube, and we want you to do that. We want you. We want you to kind of become the role, or you to really like mold the role. And I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
okay, for sure. Then I went to go see. So after I said yes to the job, I was like, now I have to go see Aunt Juliet.
I was
And I
gonna
went,
ask if you'd seen it.
oh my God. And I was like, I love this. I can't believe I love this. I'm such a cynic. Like, it's really hard to please me in musical theater. I don't have the same taste as everyone else. Like, but it was like my high school days, like all the music. I was like, oh my God, yes, the Backstreet Boys. Like when they started doing that, I was like, oh my God. And I loved the show, and I also loved the direction. I thought that Luke's direction was so gorgeous. The what he
Yeah.
did, the storytelling, and how he focused it, and how it moved, and there was the pace and the drive of the show. It never got me bored. I never looked at my watch. I was always listening, and there was never like a moment of saccharine, which is, interesting. He didn't allow there's poignant moments in the show
Yeah.
that tell story, and that have, you know, some weight to it, but it never got to saccharine. It never got to like, ugh, like it never did that. It like
Mhm.
kept its lift, I would say, and it just carries you through the whole show. And there were so many
Absolutely.
amazing surprises, and I think storytelling wise, he did an amazing job with that, and visually, it was phenomenal. And the costume work on that too was just unbelievably phenomenal. I was so blown away. And then David West Reed's book, and the way David writes, it's like da 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 da. He writes he writes a book that's like a tennis match,
Mm.
where you lob this stuff at each other, like lob, 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 and then the joke lands, and then you do it again, and it's really fun. And there's like a
Yeah.
rhythm to it, yeah, that is like, it pushes the story along, and it never gets too so serious. Like but at the end of the day, like, you're going to feel the heart of it. You're going to feel it.
Mm.
And it will take you by surprise too, because you'll be like, oh, 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 I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah.
Like, after all this fun and laughter, and the speed of it, and then it just hits you out of nowhere. I really love that about David's writing. And so that's exactly kind of what we're getting with In Dreams. It's got a mellow, it's got a melancholy undertone because of the theme of the show.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah, because I mean, it is dealing with death, and with facing your own death, and then with how we deal with people who have passed. Um, and but it is done so in such a buoyant, funny, there's a lot of dry humor in it. It's like a buoyant, funny, fast, exciting, just way that when you get there, it's such a surprise It's a surprise. You're like, oh my God, wait, I feel like I love these characters. Like I love these characters.
Amazing.
So I really, I'm really excited about the show and I'm really happy to be like the one being able to set it. And then
Yeah.
I'm so like really, in awe of David and Luke and what they bring to the piece. And I'm also so grateful that they allow me to interject and say, this doesn't feel right because da ba da ba da. And
Yeah.
they're like, oh, well, look at that. And you know what I mean? It's like a true collaboration. And
Amazing.
yeah, and there's not every show or every production is like that. And so I take that when I can get it. And like, I feel like I am a big part of this show.
Totally. Absolutely. And you are. Now, a massive question I have, which is something that people will be wondering, why should people come and see In Dreams?
Why? Oh, well, me.
Well, yeah. Aside from you,
No,
I sold the tickets anyway, but
right,
you know,
yeah. No, people should come see In Dreams because it is a very good piece of theater. You are going to feel amazing at the end. It will uplift you. It will make you leave the theater and call your best friend or your dad or your mom and be like, I love you. I'm grateful for you. Like it it is a good time full of laughs, but also has an undercurrent of heart and appreciation for loved ones around you who support you. And I think a lot of people need to hear and see something like this because it connects us to what's most important,
Mhm.
and that is human connection. And because of the pandemic and because of everything that we went through as the world went
Yeah,
through as people, that isolation was so hard on everyone. And and it's been hard for a lot of people to get out of this isolated feeling. And things that are happening now are isolating us even more.
yeah,
Um, and I feel, and also social media and, it's very isolating. It's very isolating.
yeah,
And I feel like this show is something that puts out there that the most important thing in this world is to have human connection, and it can be a small amount of people. It doesn't have to be your family. If you don't want, if because some people's family, the family that they were raised in is not great,
yeah,
but it is your chosen family that you have around you. It is so important to have community. It is so important to have the friends that you can count on no matter what, who will be there for you come hell or high water. And it's also important to let go of any of the drama and let go of things and forgive and move on, because holding on to stuff like that, it doesn't serve anyone, including yourself. In fact, it serves you less than it does anyone else. And I think that this show is such a positive reinforcement of the sentiment of needing a good community around you and not to isolate yourself.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's a
And so
beautiful message.
yeah, it's a beautiful message. And the music is gorgeous. Gorgeous.
Yeah,
And the cast is incredible. This is a great cast. Ollie and I are having a great time. Oliver Tomset.
I'm so glad.
Yeah, we've got great chemistry and there's a lot, it's really fun. He's really fun to work with. He is very, very funny. And then
Fantastic.
yeah, and then Sean and Noel. Noel, he was in like a big pop band here, right? He was in Hearsay, and I've never heard of Hearsay because I guess it was a British thing, but they were showing me video of him when he was young and in Hearsay, and I was like, oh my God, I love that. And Sean is fantastic. Sean plays like my best friend, and me, yeah, and Noel plays. So it's me, Ollie, Noel, and Sean who are in a band together called Heartbreak Radio, and the band disbanded. And then, and then we're just coming back together at the end and getting through all of that stuff that broke us apart.
Yeah.
Um, and so it's the four of us really who have that tight relationship.
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
so excited to see it. I think it's gonna be fantastic.
Me
Now
too.
it runs through July, right until the 5th of August at Leeds Playhouse. You can get your tickets from leedsplayhouse.org.uk, and that will be in the description. So you can go and grab some tickets to go and see this fabulous production, and it's Lena's UK debut.
It's my debut, and
So
I love
go and give the
it.
support.
You know what? I love London. Holy crap. I was in London for a month rehearsing, and people are like, oh, what do you think of London? I'm like, it's basically New York, only it's older, cleaner, and more polite.
Wow. And the funny thing is we don't really think it's polite.
You don't know New York. Woof. Woof.
I
New
really
York,
don't. I really don't. Maybe I need to.
New York is angry. Angry. Oh, New York's very angry right now. And I think that has a lot to do with the isolation and COVID and
Yeah,
everything that happened. A
absolutely.
lot, a lot, a lot, a lot.
But it's okay. You're here now. It's
It's
fine.
okay. Yeah, but New York was always angry and had that kind of like vibe to
Mm.
it. But now it's worse. But it'll get better. I
And
have
you're in
faith
Leeds,
it'll get
which is
better.
like basically up north, which is the best part of the UK ever.
Oh, wait, are
So
you from Leeds?
I'm not, but I'm up north. I'm in Teesside, like over near Newcastle way. So
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna try
Nice.
and get down and see you guys because it's gonna be
Yes,
fun.
please.
I
Please.
will.
I would love
And
to.
everyone else should too. Grab some tickets because it's
Grab
gonna be
some tickets.
grab some
What's the
tickets.
website? Leeds Playhouse.
It's playhouse.org.uk.
Org. leedsplayhouse.org.uk. And I'm not
Absolutely.
going to try my horrible British accent. I was listening to the accents here in Leeds, and it's very different
It
than
is very different.
in London.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so different up here. Aside from that, I just want to thank you so much for joining me today. It's been such a pleasure getting to chat with you.
You too. I mean, I talked mostly, so
Hey,
I'm
it's
sorry.
nice. It's nice to hear stories and things. I really enjoy listening and hearing what you've got to say because that's the main thing. No one needs to hear me drone on. This is
I don't know because I didn't really let you talk.
it. It was great. Thank you so much. And if you've enjoyed watching this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps me know that you're enjoying the kind of thing that I can produce for you, and then I can bring you more things like this. But thanks for watching. Thanks for joining me, and I will see you all in the next episode. Bye.
Bye.